Between what is said and not meant and what is meant and not said, most of love is lost. Khalil Gibran. Have you ever wondered if someone secretly admires you, yet hides it behind subtle gestures, careful words, and silent restraint? The human heart often speaks in whispers, not in declarations. Today we dive into the hidden signs, a woman's quiet language of affection, wrapped in mystery and unspoken emotion. So, let me ask you, if love stood before you veiled in silence, would you recognize it? 1. The psychology of subtle signals. The body never lies. This simple statement from psychologists reveals one of the most profound truths about human behavior. Our subconscious leaks through even when our conscious mind tries to hold back. When a woman likes you but struggles to reveal it openly, her behavior is often marked by contradictions, tiny paradoxes that signal an inner conflict between desire and restraint, interest and fear, openness and self-protection. Think about the eyes. They are often called the window to the soul, and for good reason. A woman who feels drawn to you may deliberately avoid locking eyes with you for too long, afraid that her gaze will betray her emotions. Yet, when you turn your head, she may steal a glance, quickly retracting it when you notice. This push and pull isn't random, it's the subconscious communicating what words cannot. In psychology, these behaviors fall under what researchers call microexpressions and leakage cues. Paul Ekman, a pioneer in the study of facial expressions, emphasized that emotions reveal themselves in fleeting, almost imperceptible flashes: raised eyebrows, a quick smile, a subtle dilation of the pupils. A woman trying to hide her attraction cannot entirely mask these micro-moments. But it isn't just the face. The body becomes a canvas of unspoken language. She may lean back in her chair, creating the illusion of distance, yet her feet point toward you, a classic sign of subconscious orientation. In social psychology, this is called proxemics, the study of how we use space. While her upper body might communicate caution, her lower body betrays interest. Now consider her voice. Have you noticed how the tone of speech changes when someone cares deeply about who they're speaking to? Even if she downplays her words, the softness in her tone, the rhythm of her laughter, or the slightly lower pitch when addressing you, all are involuntary markers of emotional engagement. Researchers in paralinguistics explain that subtle vocal shifts occur when we experience heightened emotional states. Attraction is one of the strongest of these. This creates a fascinating paradox. She hides and reveals at the same time. And herein lies the dance of hidden desire. Why do people hide in the first place? The answer often lies in fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of vulnerability. Fear of breaking social norms. Human beings are deeply wired to avoid emotional exposure that could lead to pain. For women in particular, societal conditioning can sometimes encourage restraint. Don't seem too forward, don't give yourself away too easily. So the attraction doesn't vanish, it simply finds a safer outlet. Involuntary gestures, subtle slips, nervous laughter, fleeting eye contact. It's almost as if the body becomes an interpreter of the unconscious, revealing truths that the conscious mind would rather keep hidden. Freud called this the return of the repressed. When emotions cannot be expressed openly, they seep out indirectly through gestures, slips of the tongue, and body language. Imagine you're in conversation. She seems distracted, even indifferent. Yet the moment someone else interrupts, she reacts with a hint of irritation, quickly masked by a polite smile. That tiny flash is not about the other person, it's about you. Psychologists call this emotional leakage, when genuine feelings briefly escape before the mask of self-control snaps back into place. Or consider mirroring. Without even realizing it, she begins to adopt your posture, your gestures, even your speech rhythm. Studies in social psychology confirm that mirroring is a powerful sign of rapport and attraction. When someone likes you, their nervous system synchronizes with yours. They lean in when you lean in, they smile when you smile, they echo your tone without thinking. It's not performance, it's connection at the subconscious level. But let us go deeper. These signals are not just external behaviors. They reflect an internal conflict, a tug-of-war between longing and fear. On one side, the primal brain whispers, "I want to be closer to him." On the other, the rational mind warns, "What if he doesn't feel the same?" The result is behavior that contradicts itself. Leaning away while pointing feet toward you, avoiding eye contact while sneaking glances, acting indifferent while remembering small details about your life. Now pause and reflect. Have you witnessed this in your own life? A woman laughing at your joke longer than necessary only to change the subject abruptly? A friend who seems distant but becomes protective when someone else draws near? A stranger who avoids your gaze, but whose hands tremble slightly when you speak? These are not coincidences. They are clues. They are signals wrapped in hesitation. Yet, here's the fascinating part. These paradoxes are not meant to confuse you. They are an invitation to notice, to pay attention, to listen not only with your ears but with your perception. Because attraction rarely announces itself in bold letters. More often, it whispers through the body, slipping between the cracks of self-control. And when you begin to notice these patterns, the world around you changes. Conversations gain hidden layers. Silence becomes charged with meaning. Every gesture, every glance, every pause transforms into part of a larger symphony, the psychology of subtle signals. The philosophical lens. At the touch of love, everyone becomes a poet. Plato. Philosophy has always recognized that love is both a mystery and a revelation. It is paradoxical in nature, a force that makes us both vulnerable and powerful, concealed yet luminous. When a woman suppresses her feelings, she does not silence them completely. Rather, she transforms them into subtle gestures, into fragments of meaning that hover just beneath the surface of ordinary interaction. In ancient thought, particularly in the philosophies of Greece and the East, love was rarely seen as something straightforward. It was described as a divine madness, a sacred fire, or a cosmic balance. When Plato speaks of becoming a poet, he is pointing to this transformation, how the presence of affection reshapes perception and behavior. A woman hiding her affection participates in this transformation without realizing it. She becomes a poet without words, speaking instead through symbols, through fragments of behavior, through contradictions that mirror the nature of the universe itself. Consider the way she may resist you playfully, pushing you away with a smile that softens the resistance. This is not indifference, it is a paradoxical confession. In Taoist philosophy, the yin and yang symbolize this dance, the presence of one always hinting at the other, darkness containing a seed of light, rejection concealing an undertone of attraction. When she challenges you, she is not denying the feeling, it is her way of revealing it through its apparent opposite. Philosophers like Kierkegaard reflected on the masks we wear, suggesting that much of human interaction is layered with concealment. We hide what is most precious because to expose it fully is to risk it being rejected or misunderstood. So when she remembers the smallest detail about you, the way you prefer your coffee, the story you once told in passing, she is engaging in an act of remembrance that philosophy would call anamnesis, the recovery of hidden truth. It is her way of treasuring intimacy without yet naming it aloud. But why do we hide? Why does the human heart find safety in restraint rather than in exposure? The Stoics might argue that it is a form of self-control, a way to protect the soul from the chaos of unchecked emotions. To them, passion was fire, beautiful but dangerous if not governed. A woman holding back her affection could be seen through this lens, not as distant but as disciplined, not as cold but as cautious. Yet Eastern traditions might read it differently. In Buddhism, the notion of attachment carries with it both beauty and danger. To express love openly risks creating expectations, desires, and suffering if those feelings are not reciprocated. To suppress affection, then, can be understood as an act of quiet compassion, for herself and perhaps for you. By restraining the revelation, she preserves balance, waiting until the moment when expression can flow naturally without bringing harm. We might also look to the poets of Sufism like Rumi, who remind us that love often speaks in paradoxes. Love is the bridge between you and everything. In this vision, hidden affection is not a denial but a sacred bridge. Her silence is not empty, it is filled with meaning. Her indifference is not rejection, it is longing clothed in modesty. So ask yourself, what truths lie behind the masks people wear? Are these masks lies, or are they simply the garments of the soul, necessary coverings for feelings too delicate to reveal in the naked light of day? Think of the countless layers human beings wrap around themselves: pride, humor, distance, silence. These are not barriers meant to destroy connection. They are shields protecting the fragile spark within. When you notice the contradictions in her behavior, you are being invited into that sacred hidden space, the space where philosophy and psychology converge. Even Nietzsche, who was often seen as a critic of love, hinted at this paradox when he wrote, "There is always some madness in love. But there is also always some reason in madness." Hidden affection is a perfect embodiment of this. On the surface it seems irrational. Why conceal what you feel? And yet, within the concealment lies its reason: the preservation of dignity, the management of risk, the testing of authenticity. Imagine for a moment that every emotion were immediately visible, that every thought of affection was spoken aloud without hesitation. Would intimacy still hold its sacred depth, or would it lose its mystery? Perhaps part of what makes love profound is precisely its concealment, The way it asks us to see beyond appearances, to notice what is not obvious, to perceive the invisible. When a woman hides her feelings, she is not simply withholding. She is inviting you to see with new eyes, to practice perception as a philosopher would, searching not only for what is shown but for what is veiled. In this sense, her hidden signs become not just gestures of affection, but lessons in awareness, mirrors of ancient wisdom. And so the playful resistance, the remembered detail, the balance between distance and closeness, these are not random quirks. They are expressions of a truth as old as philosophy itself, that love is both revealed and concealed, a mystery that asks not only to be felt but to be interpreted. 3. The emotional narrative. Imagine this. You're sitting across from her in a quiet cafe. The hum of conversation surrounds you, cups clinking, the faint hiss of steaming milk. Yet between you two, there is a silence charged with something unspoken. She avoids your gaze, stirring her drink with unnecessary persistence, watching the spiral of liquid as if it were safer than the intensity of your eyes. Her words seem casual, light as feathers tossed into the air. She talks about work, about the weather, about anything that keeps her heart safely hidden. But beneath those ordinary syllables, there is a tension, like a violin string pulled tight but never played. And then, it happens. You say something not particularly funny, not even remarkable. But she laughs. Too quickly, too warmly. It's the kind of laugh that doesn't match the joke but matches the presence of the one who told it. For a fleeting moment, the mask slips. Her eyes soften, her shoulders lean forward as if pulled by an invisible thread. And then, just as swiftly, she retreats, reassembling the wall she worked so hard to build. Her hand hovers near yours. Close enough to feel the warmth radiating, close enough for the air itself to thicken with possibility. But instead of closing the distance, she pulls it back, retreating into the safety of restraint. You watch this dance unfold, advance, retreat, and you realize that this is not indifference. This is not absence. This is restraint. Her silence is alive. It is not a void but a storm quietly brewing. Behind the casual tone, behind the lowered eyes, behind the nervous gestures, there is a heart at war with itself. Desire pushes forward. Fear pulls back. Vulnerability wants to speak. Pride insists on silence. And as you watch, you begin to notice the contradictions more clearly. When you mention another woman in passing, her smile falters for just a fraction of a second before she covers it. When your phone buzzes, her eyes flicker toward it with a sharpness that betrays curiosity. These micro-moments are not accidents. They are fragments of truth breaking through the surface. The French philosopher Pascal once said, "The heart has its reasons which reason does not know." You are seeing this play out in real time. Her heart reaches for you while her reason resists. And the battlefield of this quiet war is written on her gestures. Look closer. The way she tucks her hair behind her ear, though it doesn't fall in her face. The way her breathing shifts slightly faster when you lean in. The way she fidgets with her ring, her bracelet, her napkin. Objects becoming shields against emotions too overwhelming to release. Every detail, every subtle action is a code. A secret language of affection disguised as habit. You feel it too, don't you? The air around you thickening, the pauses between words stretching into infinite possibility. Attraction is rarely loud, it whispers. It hides in hesitation, in fleeting touches, in unfinished sentences. What you're experiencing in that cafe is not casual conversation. It is poetry written in silence. And isn't it fascinating how the heart fights itself? How it fears rejection more than it craves revelation. How a person can long for closeness and yet step back at the very threshold of intimacy. This is the paradox of the human spirit. The deepest desires are often the ones most carefully hidden. Imagine her inner dialogue. Does he notice? Should I say it? What if he doesn't feel the same? What if I lose the friendship? What if I expose myself and regret it? This internal storm rages quietly beneath her calm exterior. Every smile she gives, every deflection she makes, is a negotiation between courage and caution. The cafe becomes more than a setting. It is a stage where invisible battles play out. You, the unwitting observer, are not just sharing coffee, you are witnessing the complexity of human emotion, the fragile balance between concealment and revelation. And perhaps, without realizing it, you are part of the same battle. After all, if you truly sensed her interest, would you have the courage to act on it? Or would you, too, find yourself hesitating, fearing the very same rejection she fears? The storm is not hers alone. It belongs to both of you. Two hearts circling each other, both cautious, both restrained, both waiting for the other to speak first. And so the laughter comes too quickly, the hands linger too long, the silences grow too heavy. These are not random moments. They are signals, small fires hidden under the ashes, waiting for a single spark. And as you sit there watching her stir her drink again, you realize, the most powerful truths are rarely shouted. They are whispered. They are hinted at. They are hidden in the ordinary. Attraction wears the mask of indifference, but if you look closely enough, you can see the cracks in the mask, the light breaking through. The heart, even when it hides, always leaves traces. The call to self-awareness. Being deeply loved by someone gives you strength, while loving someone deeply gives you courage. Lao Tzu. Close your eyes for a moment and let those words settle into you. Strength. Courage. Two sides of the same experience, two gifts that love bestows upon those who dare to embrace it. If a woman hides her affection, perhaps it is not rejection. Perhaps it is an unspoken invitation. She may be waiting not for the perfect moment but for your courage. She may be mirroring the hesitation you carry inside yourself. Her silence could be reflecting your silence. Her restraint could be echoing your own fear of stepping forward. So the question shifts. It is not only, does she like me? The deeper question is, am I awake enough to see beyond appearances? The world around us is layered with masks. We wear them in our friendships, our work, our families, even in the quiet spaces of love. And when someone hides affection, it is rarely to deceive. It is more often to protect. The mask is not falsehood. The mask is armor. And the one who learns to see beyond it, to listen not only to words but to pauses, to notice not only gestures but hesitations, such a one becomes more than an observer. He becomes aware. Meditation teaches us this truth: the surface is never the whole. The ripples on the water conceal the depths below. In the same way, a smile may conceal longing and indifference may conceal desire. To see the truth of another person requires stillness, presence, and patience. Ask yourself, when you sit across from her, are you really listening? Not just to the words but to the silence between them. Not just to the actions but to the energy beneath them. Do you allow yourself to feel the subtle shifts, the quickened breath, the nervous laugh, the way her hand moves closer before retreating? These are not accidents. They are truths waiting for someone courageous enough to notice. And what is courage in this context? It is not the loud, dramatic gesture. It is not grand declarations or bold moves. Courage here is quieter. It is the willingness to be authentic. To say what you feel without the certainty of how it will be received. To step beyond the safety of interpretation and into the vulnerability of expression. Because love, at its essence, is not a puzzle to be solved. It is not a series of signs to decode, as though the human heart were a secret codebook. Love is presence. It is awareness. It is the courage to meet another human being without pretense, without calculation, without the armor of performance. Consider this. Perhaps she hides her affection because she senses your uncertainty. Perhaps she is waiting for you to lead not with control, but with openness. When you drop your own mask, you give her permission to drop hers. When you speak your truth, you create space for her to speak hers. Relationships are mirrors, each reflecting back the state of the other. The mystics remind us, as within, so without. If you carry fear inside, you will meet it in others. If you carry openness inside, you will awaken it in them. Attraction is not only about signals, it is about resonance. Two hearts vibrate together not because one decodes the other, but because both allow themselves to be seen. So let us return to the question, am I willing to see beyond appearances? Beyond the hesitation, beyond the indifference, beyond the carefully constructed facade? More importantly, am I willing to act with authenticity even when it feels terrifying? Sit with that. Feel it. Because in the end, this is not about her. It is about you. Your awareness. Your presence. Your courage. The truth is this: love always requires risk. To open your heart is to expose it to the possibility of rejection. But to hide your heart is to guarantee absence. The very act of courage, of stepping forward, of speaking honestly, is the bridge between possibility and regret. So when you wonder whether she likes you, remember, the signs matter less than the awareness you bring to them. If you stay only at the level of decoding gestures, you remain outside, analyzing shadows. But if you step inside with presence, you begin to feel the essence, not just of her, but of yourself. Love is not a puzzle. Love is an awakening. An awakening to the moment. An awakening to vulnerability. An awakening to the reality that courage is not the absence of fear, it is moving forward in spite of it. And maybe, just maybe, when you find that courage within yourself, you will discover that her silence was never emptiness. It was simply waiting for you to listen, not with your mind, but with your heart. So, the next time you notice these subtle contradictions, don't just ask, does she like me? Ask instead, what does this moment invite me to become? Because every hidden glance, every restrained smile, is not only a sign of her affection. It is also an invitation for you to awaken to the profound mystery of human connection.